Okay, so I'm gonna try to make this a video and just screen cap it or whatever, so I'll try to keep it brief because it's a weird way to do it. So I reached the end of the game by Elden Beast, and this is the end. So it's Ronnie or whatever else. I don't know what endings I have, but I think Ronnie is the one I want. Unless I, like, what else is there? I think I just do Ronnie's ending. The game audio seems like super quiet for me, but I can't change it right now.
The battle is over, I see.
I kind of forgot that she had 4 hands. It's been a while.
I do solemnly swear to every living being and every living soul. Now cometh the age of the stars, 1,000-year voyage under the wisdom of the moon. Here beginneth the chill night that encompasses all, reaching the great beyond. Into fear, doubt, and loneliness, as the path stretcheth into darkness.
Well, I should have changed my outfit before I did this. Man, now I look stupid. I don't look like myself now. I look like a dumbass.
Well then, shall we?
If I'm being honest, I completely forgot what your ending was even about. But, like, we're married or something, right? So...
My fair consort eternal.
I really hope the achievement didn't just fuck up the whole thing for making a recording. If not, then I guess my final thoughts on the game are I don't like it. Generally speaking, I don't think it's a bad game, but there are a lot of issues with this game that I have, generally speaking. Like, I think they made the level cap too high, which made gaining levels too hard. So, like, in Bloodborne, for example, like, the level cap was, I don't even remember what it was, but it was, like, slightly lower. And in this, it's like, I don't even know what the, like, hard cap is, but, like, if you look at even the individual levels, like, in Bloodborne, it stops at, like, a hard cap at, like, 50, and in this, it's, like, 80. So your highest level is already higher, and in doing that, the, like, runes required ends up being more for, like, unnecessary, and just all the enemies in general just don't give you enough runes to, like, validate farming like 100% of the time. Like, the only 2 good farming spots, and I say good in, like, quotation marks heavily, is, like, the one in Caelid, which is only 1,000 per enemy, and it's just not... It's no fun at the beginning, early stages of the game, but it's the only place to go to. And the one that's way better is the one in, Moog's area. I forget what the area is called. That one's way better, but it's still only, like, 3,000 per enemy if you have the Golden Jewel Beetle and, like, a Foul Foot on. And the Golden Jewel Beetle is basically impossible to get to anywhere early in the game because it sucks to get to. It's like the worst item in the game. I don't like most of the weapon style fighting. I don't think jumps were necessary, even though I think it adds an interesting element. I just think that if you're adding it to the game just to make things like harder because you're adding parkour and jumping like that, it's just unnecessary. Like there's that one dungeon somewhere in the game where you're like jumping all the way down to get to this like bottom area. Like I think for the what is it called? The like eternal flame ending. That's awful. And it's one of the worst parts, I think, is just like having that jumping. Like even in Bloodborne, when there's like some parkour, it's mostly just falling. With that, it's like you either have to jump or roll or like sprint jump. It's just stupid, and I really don't like it. And it's not to say that this is a bad game. It's not a bad game, but I think there was just a lot of issues that didn't need to be issues. Like the dodge, for example. Like I don't know what it's like on PC. I don't know what it's like on other systems, but as far as I know, every other Soulsborne game has had a quicker dodge. This one is exceedingly slow. It doesn't respond correctly. Like the one in Bloodborne, it's like there's sort of two variations, where there's one where you're out of attack, and there's one where you're sort of in attack mode, which is way faster, and that one's like super great dodge, and it's like a super responsive. And this one, it's like you press it and you wait like 4 seconds, and it doesn't work. So you have to like dodge early while being hit by like all these different enemies. It's just, I don't know, not my favorite. I also, this is just a personal preference, but I don't like having hard weapon stats. Like, not weapon stats, sorry, I'm wording it wrong. Weapon stats I don't mind. I'm trying to think of the word. Like armor stats where they make you heavier or slower or whatever. I looked at more in like Bloodborne or a lot of other games where they just sort of give you a little bit of a buff, even if it's not super strong, and they don't like weigh you down to make you even fucking slower than you already are. Because it would be so great if you could just get through this game a little bit faster instead of constantly being slowed down trying to wear armor that just barely fucking protects you. It's not my favorite. I'm trying to think what else. I don't like that they basically did, I think, what Dark Souls 2 did, where they just increased difficulty by adding more enemies instead of just making things harder. Like, because this game in general is not that hard. It's really not a hard game, but the problem is that a lot of the enemies are based on RNG, and they don't have like a good solid pattern. Not that you can't work with RNG, but Elden Beast in particular is just a fucking nightmare because of it. Like, most of the earlier bosses are okay. Moog is my favorite one to fight, and he doesn't like that, but a lot of them are just so not learnable because they're just completely random, and it's really fucking annoying. But I mean, there's a fair amount of them that are normal, but trying to get through this game a lot of times is just a slog because it feels like they just try to do all these things to make it harder when it just wasn't necessary. Like, they had a really good setup from all of their other games, from Bloodborne in particular, where it's just like, you had it right. Why did you kind of take it into such a weird direction with this? But it is also just my preference. I know there's lots of people who really, really like this game, and I do like this game. I just also really hate it at the same time, and because I don't think it's hard. I've basically beaten this game twice, but like the first time it took me 100. This second time, technically speaking, I went back to my old save file, but the second time it only took me 40 hours. It's not that hard of a game. I don't know. Let's try to think things I actually do like about this game, which is harder for me. I did like, I don't know, I'm not a huge fan of the knight kind of thing, or the how do you word it, like the Game of Thrones kind of lord kind of thing, which is what this game kind of is based on, and that's also just a personal preference. I mean, that's just not something I'm super into, so a lot of the bosses for me just felt kind of like that all the time. I liked Ancestor Spirit. I thought that was a really cool boss. I like Moog the Omen King, or the Blood version anyway, the one that's in the sewers, whatever. But Radagon, I think, is actually a really cool boss, and he's not as hard as people say he is. I wish so deeply that Radagon's fight and Elden Beast's fight were separated, because that would make it a lot better. Like sort of like how Garamond's fight and Moon Presence, if you choose to fight it, are separated by sort of like a barrier. Like I wish that they had done that just to like sort of at least take away some of that, because you basically have to perfect Radagon to be able to get to Elden Beast with any chance. And Radagon isn't hard after a while, but it just makes things annoying. But I do think Radagon is cool. Fuck Elden Beast. I think Millennia is really cool boss as well. She is really hard though, but she's a really cool boss. I don't know, most of the enemies in this game I just think are fucking stupid, and the areas in this game are just like slogs to get through. Like I do like the design of FromSoft games in general, like how everything feels sort of connected, but I think with how big the game is, it got sort of lost. Like you can't really see all the layers unless you're in really specific areas. Because I don't know, like with Bloodborne or even like I think Dark Souls 3, I haven't played the original Dark Souls trilogy yet, which I will soon, but like you could just be like walking around some area and you could be like, oh well, that's this thing over there, and like you can see just how perfectly they all layer over each other because you're sort of in a smaller environment. When it's such a big area and so spread out, you can't really see all the layering that they have done, which is what FromSoft is so good at doing. So it gets sort of lost. Also, Torrent is controls needed to be worked on. It felt like the Assassin's Creed Odyssey horse, but worse because you had like a double jump. They really needed to work on Torrent just a little bit longer. I do think some of the armors in the game are cool. I don't like the majority of the weapons. I wish I could take the Bloodborne Saw Spear and just put it into Elden Ring. And then I would probably have a lot more fun. But not to say that any of the weapons are necessarily bad in Elden Ring. I just don't enjoy them as much because of like they don't have like... I miss the sort of like adding stuff to them instead of just leveling them up, I think, is part of it too. I'll just do this so it's... Yeah, I don't have anything else to do. So I miss the like sort of aspect of like adding stuff to like increase your weapons versus just leveling them up over and over and over and over again, and like being able to like really customize them versus just armaments. Because like, you know, like with a Saw Spear you could be like, oh well, I want to increase my arcane or my fire or whatever else, you know, or just completely all the way with strength, all of everything is boosted. But then you could also like be having your stats, so it's basically just like double increased. And then with Elden Ring it's just kind of like just the weapon gets increased and then your stats get increased, but they don't really help each other out all that much, it feels like. Yeah, shut up. But yeah, I feel like blood is basically the only way to get through the game until you're at like the very end of the game, then it just sucks ass. I don't know. I really wish I liked this game more. I really do. That's why I played it a second time through before coming back to the ending of it, because well, I wanted to like sort of practice before I did Elden Beast again, because it was giving me such a like I was hating this game so much I never wanted to come back to it, basically, because it just felt like unfair, which it is. Elden Beast is very unfair. Not impossible, but unfair. But I gained more appreciation for it my second run through, but I still don't like the game. I really like some of the like secret bosses in the game, like the I forget what they're called, like the dragons. They have some moves that I think are bullshit, but I do think they have interesting like kind of designs, like Palladius Axe, like his, if it's him, I'm trying to remember, like when he's like hanging upside down, that arena is like really cool. And the like quest line with Fia is also interesting, but that boss is pretty easy. But it's really similar to Palladius Axe. But like some of those like secret ones are more interesting. I don't know what else I could say, like other than just like if you want to play it, play it. But I mean, for me, Bloodborne is always going to be the best FromSoft game there is, and I desperately wish they would make a second Bloodborne. I don't know why people think it needs to be remastered. I mean, it would be cool to see, but I don't know why people are so obsessed with being locked at like 32 frames per second or whatever it is. because it doesn't play bad at all. It doesn't load that bad for what it is. I think it plays perfectly fine, and people get over it that it just doesn't look like the most elite graphics in the entire universe. But I don't know, I wish they would make Bloodborne 2. If I was like super famous, my like one begging wish would be for Bloodborne 2 to exist. I really hope that achievement didn't fuck up the thing, or else this is just going to be complaining without even the ending being in it. I'm glad I set this over 15, or else it wouldn't record, but that means I'm going to have to cut out like more footage, but it's just on PS4, so I should be able to crop it. I hope my voice has been recording, or else this is a waste of time. Thank you for watching the series if you have. Goodbye.